Hi Tommy, hope you're well. It's February the 6th, 2019. I'm doing this video and I hope that I don't have to publish this. I mean that in a way that I'm hoping that we would have had a father and son relationship and a son and a father relationship. But I feel as if there are a few things you might like to know. I haven't got anything written down, so this is all from memory, so you'll have to excuse me if I not cross my wires, get a bit muddled up or go over things a few times. So anyway, I'll go back to I think it was September, October, November in 2007. I was on a website called Face Party, not Facebook, but Face Party, and I come across this woman who happened to live in Norwich, and I liked the look of her, and I sent her a message. The first message that I sent her, I remember it well. I said, "You look like a right nutter." That message was to Michelle, your mother. Anyway, we got on well online, and we eventually changed numbers. Chatted on the phone, and then it was in January 2008 that we decided to meet up eventually. I remember the weekend well because it was quite close to my birthday. My birthday's on the 9th of January. I think we met on the 11th or something around that date. We met, I stayed in a hotel near the train station. As you walk up from the train station towards the house where you currently live, the Dean's, it was on the left hand side. I can't remember the name. So anyway, so your mum got a taxi down to the hotel and we went out for the evening. We went to a couple of pubs and then we went to a nightclub, and Uncle Benjamin was there as well, from what I seem to recall. Anyway, your mum and I got on really, really well. I can't remember what happened the next day, but anyway, we decided to get into a relationship. It was difficult at first because of my job and also a distance. It was 160 miles, but I was prepared. I was prepared to make that, and the agreement I had with your mum was that I would come up and see her on my days off. I basically worked 5 days out of 7, so that means I worked most weekends. But it worked because your mum wasn't working full time at the time; she had a part-time job, and so I used to come up on my days off and stay maybe a night or two. So that really worked well, and your mum and I were getting on really, really well. And I actually thought, this woman is the one for me. So with the company I worked for Warburton's. I made some inquiries and I discussed it with your mum that perhaps we should live together. So with work, I arranged I could get a transfer from where I was working in Camberley, Surrey, to Thetford. So anyway, the transfer went well, and it was September 2008 that I basically moved in with your mum. I left my father, your granddad, behind in a place called Binfield. However, his health wasn't the best, so I decided that it would be best if he could also move up to Norfolk or thereabouts. I can't remember how long it took, but eventually I got him a move to Beccles. So anyway, as the time went on, your mum and I went away for a weekend, and we went to Belgium, and there was an incident in the bedroom where your mum cried. Your mum cried because she couldn't fit this black dress on. Now that to me was the first indication that your mum was pregnant. Great, superb. However, your mum wasn't too happy about it. It's a woman thing about putting on weight. So yes, that was Belgium. I can't really remember much things in between. I think it was within, I don't know, literally a couple of months of or maybe a month of moving in, that your mum fell pregnant. Pregnancy was good. It was really, really good. Your mum did thank me on her original Facebook profile that she had, that she'd be totally lost without me. We had an incident on New Year's Eve 2008. We went to a pub in a place called Burston. I think the pub was called The Crown. And my friend from Australia, Gary, he was over, and it made sense that we'd all get together in the pub and celebrate New Year's. Now, I was driving, and obviously your mum was pregnant, so your mum was really, really good. I don't think she touched any alcohol that evening, and I have to say your mum was really, really good throughout the pregnancy, not touching alcohol. But yeah, on that evening, your mum fell. I think she fell off a step when she was leaving the pub or coming into the pub. I can't quite remember what. But anyway, we ended up going to the Norfolk and Norwich Hospital. I can't remember what time it was, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, because we had some concerns about the baby, that baby being you. And your mum couldn't feel any kicking inside her stomach. So we went to the hospital just for routine checks, and everything was okay. It was then that we decided, or we was then given the option, do we want to know the sex of our baby? I thought, yeah, great. And I think obviously your mum agreed, and that's when we were both told that our child would be a boy, that person being you. So that's up to 2000, or takes me up to the 1st of January 2009. I was in a very loving relationship with your mum, and I put my hand on my heart. So I was in love with your mum, hence why I decided to make the move, the 160-mile move, and pull myself away from my family at the time, and also my friends. There wasn't one argument between your mum and I. I was very, very content, and I thought that I would end up marrying your mum. I genuinely say that, and that's what I genuinely believed. I can't really remember much about it. I mean, your mum was getting a bit upset throughout the pregnancy because of my job and what time I used to have to get up in the morning, and my sleeping patterns. That was just my job. I was getting up at, I don't know, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning to be at work for 4 o'clock. It was crazy. And I'd be home probably 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, maybe 12 o'clock some days. And then I'd go and have a sleep in the afternoon, and then spend the rest of the day with your mum, obviously. As the pregnancy went on, everything was great. I was a very keen father-to-be. I was wanting to get everything planned, everything in place, your cot, the bigger stuff, the buggies, etc., etc. Just showing a real interest. So that was that. So it was a loving relationship. Anyway, come May time, we had I can't remember what they call it. We had the date of your birth, or expected date, and it didn't happen. So there were a few complications. Your mum had, I think she had a couple of membrane sweeps. That's to hopefully bring on the pregnancy. Anyway, I'll skip forward to the time in hospital. Now, you was born on the 22nd of May at 9:02. Now, from what I remember, we went into hospital on the 20th, and there were a few complications. The doctors were concerned about the actual birth itself and the amount of time that your mum was in labour. I think your mum was in labour 40 odd hours. I stand to be corrected on that. So you had a caesarean section, or your mum had a caesarean section. That's where they have to get the baby out, and they make a little cut, or cut about, probably, I don't know how big the cut is, on the stomach of the female, and that being your mum. Now, your mum wasn't happy about it at all because of the scars, but she realised that it had to be done for your welfare. So it was in the theatre, and your mum was on the table laying down. I was holding her hand, and I was also at the front end with the surgeons, and I was watching you being born. That was great. That was the happiest day of my life. There's no other day that can compete with that whatsoever. So he was born. He was taken over to a table where I cut your umbilical cord. So that's your belly button. The cord you had a cord when you're born, a cord that attaches to your belly button and attaches to mum inside, and that's how you're fed. So I cut that, and that's what most dads do. So you weighed 7.2 pounds. So the birth was complicated, but thankfully everything worked out well. You came home on the 23rd of May, or maybe 24th, I can't quite remember. You came home in my car at the time. We got everything all sorted for you at home. Josh was over the moon, and things were good. Things were really good. We didn't have a baby shower because I didn't think the baby showers were that popular at the time. Uncle Peter and Auntie Sonia and Sophie came round to see you, as did Grandad Alan, Paula, Nanny Janice, Uncle Ben. I think a few others came round to see you as well. Have some pictures of Sonia, Peter, myself, your mum, and me with Sophie and Josh, which I've kept. So things were really good, really good. I acted as any responsible parent would do. I basically realised, your mum needed a bit of rest, so I would take over. The only thing I couldn't do was breastfeed you because you was being breastfed. That's fine. That's. However, when your mum used to go and have a bath, I used to look after you downstairs. Then things started to change. I noticed a change in your mum, in her attitude, and how she was becoming more upset, shall I say. So I contacted her doctor, who was my doctor at the time, Dr. Sam, I think his name was, and I explained the symptoms or the signs, and he told me that this is typical characteristics of postnatal depression, which is quite common in females. So what I did do, I was advised that I should phone the health advisor. This is a person that is allocated to the parents and the baby up to the age of 5 after somebody's given birth. Her name was Jenny. Jenny was okay. She paid a couple of home visits. In the process, though, your mum was going to the Sure Start Centre. I think it was on Wolf Road. I think that was the name. Anyway, to like the mother and baby groups. I mean, I couldn't go because of my work, and they didn't fall on my days off. So I contacted Jenny and I explained to her what was going on. And she said to me, and I swear to my life, that she said to me that she had seen signs of postnatal depression in your mum. Precursor to all this, I'd also phoned John and Polly, and I spoke to Polly about it, and I said, look, I've seen signs, but I don't want to address Michelle, your mum, regarding this. And I asked Polly if she could sort of, have a word and find out for herself. So yeah, after speaking to the health advisor, she did say that she'd seen signs of postnatal depression within your mum. So, I'd done all I could. There was nothing more I could do about that, apart from speak to the professionals. What then happened shortly after, I came out of the kitchen, and I can't remember what I was doing exactly, but I was going to go upstairs. And I turned around, and your mum was on the sofa, and I turned around and said, I love you, Michelle. And she said, I don't love you anymore. And I turned around and said, well, why is that then? She goes, because I don't. I said, fine, okay. I said, I shall pack my bags and leave. And that's what I did. I went upstairs, I packed my bags. I didn't have many clothes at the house at the time, because they were all with my father in Beccles. And we had a quick chat, and it was agreed that I could come round and see you whenever I wanted to. So, I accepted that. So we went out a couple of times, your mum and I, doing various things, just shopping, whatever, so I could spend some time with you. Swimming was a thing that we did a couple of times, 2 or 3 times, I can't quite remember. I got you a ring, and I would take you in the pool, and your mum would be behind the glass. So, we'd have some time, but you could see your mum all the time, and your mum could see us. So that worked reasonably well. Then something happened. I think something happened. I'd arranged to see you on whatever day, but something had happened with my dad. I mean, I'd moved back in with my dad in Beccles, which is about 20 miles down the road. Something happened, and I phoned your mum and I said, look, there's something wrong with my dad, and I won't be able to make it today. Your mum's words were, I'm not being messed around by it like this anymore. You need to go to court. I thought, oh, that's a bit harsh. So anyway, it got to court, and I'd not seen you for, I don't know, I think about 18 months. Getting messed around in court, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, we got contact. They wanted to go into a contact centre, but I said no. I didn't think it was suitable, and it wasn't very, very child friendly, considering your age. You were just coming up to 2. And this was at the Shore Start Centre. This was a place that I knew you was familiar with, and I knew was a place that was child focused for children your age. So contact was really, really good. I'll not say really good. It was 90% good. However, there were a couple of hiccups along the way. There were incidences where your mum would come into the contact room and she would be asked to leave, and she didn't. She was coming in to reassure you, but the person who was monitoring contact said that I was there to reassure you, and it was a bonding process. So contact went really, really well. I'm just going to quickly get something. So we had 10 sessions. There was a matter on one session where I brought my video camera in, and I was wanting to take pictures of you and also videos of you so that I could promote your family right to life to my side of the family, because they'd not seen you, or they'd only seen pictures. And it was claimed that I needed permission. to do this. Now that was quite odd, because any person can take pictures, be it normal pictures or videos, of any person they want to, including children, providing they're not indecent. And I wasn't going to take indecent pictures of you. That's not my thing. So I was given permission by your mum, of which was documented maybe 2, 3, 4 times. Anyway, on the last contact session, I think this was maybe July 2011, 2012, contact was going really, really well, and this was the last contact session before we'd moved out into the real world. Contact was documented as positive and must proceed. I remember it well because this was the last time I saw you. You was on a slide, and you'd gone down a couple of times, and you went down. You went to go down again, and that was the last picture of you, Tommy, on the slide. Smiley, happy, you know, really enjoying yourself. And of course I was taking pictures. Now, what happened then was a certain person came running out, wasn't your mum? Came running out saying, you can't take pictures, blah, blah, blah. And I said, why? Well, because I don't have permission, apparently. Then I kindly said to the person, well, one, I don't need permission to take pictures of any children, more so my son. 2, it's also been documented that you personally, I won't mention this person's name, have documented it 2 or 3 times, if not more, in various paperwork. That person snatched you from that slide and took you to your mum. I didn't say anything at the time, and I watched you go. Little did I realise that would be the last time I saw you, Tommy. I actually thought that we'd be going into court a week or so later, and that contact would resume outside of the Shore Start Centre, so we could go out, you know, do whatever. So yeah, I'm a little bit, and I still am upset. Up 2 secs. What I actually do, Tommy, I don't count the number of years since I've seen you. What I do, I count it in days. Now it is 2,753 days since I last saw you, and that's wrong. That's wrong. It was documented that I met your needs, emotional needs, personal needs, blah blah blah. So what's the issue? I'll skip back a little bit, and I should have mentioned this earlier. But after you was born, I felt your mum came a little bit possessive of you, such as giving her, when I was wanting to give her a break, because she was tired, I would want to take you out in your buggy for a walk. Your mum wasn't having any of it at all. I'm coming, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, oh, this is wrong. I couldn't even go around the block, Tommy. I couldn't come out of your house, turn left, go up there and come back on the main road. She wouldn't have it. Even going into the field, she had to come all the time. I didn't mind at all, but I would have liked to have some father and son bonding time. I'll skip back a little bit more as well. I think you was about 4 months old when you last saw my dad, your granddad. Your mum wasn't happy about it at all, because we were going to go swimming or something like that. and your mum came with us, and I was in my car. I said, right, I'm going to go and see my dad. Take Tommy to see my dad, and she wasn't happy about that for some reason. But we went there and everything was okay. And he also met my dog at the time. That's the first dog he met, Doc. He's no longer with us now, unfortunately. So, so 2,753 days or whatever it is since I've seen you. I have tried my hardest, Tommy. I really, really have tried my hardest to see you. I've been in and out of court, I don't know how many times, mate. I really, really don't. I can't say too much about what goes on in court, because courts are very, very secretive, especially when it comes to children. But what I will say is I have a voice and I do speak out. And because I speak out and I've tried to promote your rights to family life, and as well as my rights to family life, and also that of my dad, your granddad, they don't like it. They don't like it at all. And from my own experience, both personally and that of others that I've helped go through sad times like this, as soon as someone speaks out against people like Kafkas, they close ranks and they will make your life hell. Absolute hell. Kafkas can't do anything wrong in their eyes. Kafkas try to play God to the children and they're doing it wrong. There are children out there, such as yourself, that have been denied contact to loving, caring parents, Tommy. Loving, caring parents. Why? I don't know. I believe that the family courts are designed for profit. That means forced adoption. You haven't been adopted, of course. It's a cash generator, and it will promote businesses such as adoption agencies and solicitors and barristers. That's my general opinion, and I personally believe that they could fix this, not a problem, but to date it hasn't. What I will say also from my experiences, both representing myself and also representing others, is that solicitors and mainly non-resident parents, in this case fathers and me, don't like Kafkas, and they all have the same opinion of Kafkas. I detest Kafkas, Tommy. Detest them with a passion. And I have organised a protest that happened in 2012, I think it was, at the Birmingham Metropole Hotel, where I had a conference, a Family Justice Council conference, and we caused a bit of disruption there to raise awareness of what the people are doing to the poor children. So that went well, but I don't protest anymore. So what else? I've been to Westminster for a meeting with a couple of MPs regarding family law and how wrong it is, and these MPs have no clue, no idea whatsoever what's going on. They all think the family courts are operating correctly, blah, blah, blah. And that these MPs do know Kafkas failings, but they don't do anything about it. It's as simple as. So yeah, I've been to Westminster. I also went to, I decided to study family law a little bit and become a fellow at the Institute of Paralegals in family law. And that's the highest qualification I could get. I went to a family justice debate in Westminster. As I was invited, I just went because I wanted to hear barristers and judges' opinions of stuff, and it all seemed quite reasonable. I was in there and I saw a man called Anthony Douglas. Now, Anthony Douglas is the Chief Executive Officer of Kafkas, or is at the time of me doing this video. I approached him and I said, "Hello, Mr. Douglas, I'm David Darby." His words were, oh, he was shocked. He said, "How did you get in here?" He knew my name. And I said, "I was invited." I said, "I've got some questions for you." To which I gave him, and he said, "Give me a couple of days and I will answer them." To which he did. I'll give him his credit. So that's going on a bit now. Trying to think what else I can say. I do wonder, going back to court the first time in 2010 or whenever it was, I refused indirect contact with you. That's basically letters, sending you letters. I did that for a number of reasons. Firstly, you was too young. You couldn't have read the letters yourself. Secondly, it would have been difficult to write. I don't know what I could write about Tommy. I couldn't have asked you how about your school, etc., etc. And I saw indirect contact at that time as a form of emotional child abuse. And I still do think that to a degree. So in 2000, I said I've done various court applications. In 2015, I applied again, and they shut the doors on me again. Or should I say, I was backed into a corner where there was only one way out, and that was through the back door, and that was through not seeing you. What I did ask for was indirect contact. That was to re-establish contact between you and I, that being letters and birthday cards and Christmas cards, 4 times a year. I don't agree with it, in all fairness. So I think it's emotional child abuse. And, I write to you and I think to myself, I wonder what Tommy's thinking. Tommy, you must be thinking, why can my dad write to me? Why can't I see my dad? My dad appears to be a loving dad, from the letters. But he said, it was a way of re-establishing contact. I've sent you some stuff. I haven't sent you any birthday presents, Tommy, or Christmas presents, because there's a reason why on that. Speaking from experience, of people I know, if I was to send you birthday presents, as in a big gift, or or buy you presents at Christmas, you would get them presents, or there's a possibility that you would get them presents, and they wouldn't be from me. Now, I know some parents do this. Some fathers do this. They send their children presents, but along the process, these presents end up being from the mother, and that's why I haven't done that, and that's why I send you checks. I then know that you've got them, and I think with doing so, you can then go out and get what you want. I'm gonna go on about the council and your schooling. Now, I have parental responsibility, and part of that means I get a say in what school you go to. Now, I haven't had a say in what school you go to at all. Your mum claims that she had no contact details for me. Yeah, if your mum looked closely, she could find my email address probably 150 times in various places. So what I did do, I contacted the council, Norfolk County Council, to find out where you went to school, because I wanted to show an interest in your education. Of course, education, you might not think so, is so important. It really, really is so important. I didn't think so at the time when I was at school. I thought it was a waste of time and was there just to have a laugh. So I wanted to keep up on that. Norfolk County Council were refusing me this information for some reason. Apparently I needed a solicitor's letter or a court order saying that I needed this, that I was entitled to this, to know where you went to school. That is absolute rubbish. What happened then was I contacted my MP at the time, Matthew Hancock, when I lived just outside Bury St Edmunds, and he wrote to the county council and they still wouldn't budge. They wouldn't move on it at all, and we couldn't work out why they wouldn't give me the information that I was legally entitled to. So what I then did is I filed an application at High Court. I was going to take Norfolk County Council to court for a breach of Act, the Education Act, which clearly states something along the lines, any person with parental responsibility is entitled to know of their children's school or something along the lines. So I sent the form off by recorded delivery to High Court, and I checked if it was delivered or not by looking at the recorded delivery slip, and it was delivered. I then left it about 2 or 3 months, and I contacted a court, and I contacted the court by phone and asked them where the paperwork was and what's happening to my application. I said that I'd sent the form by recorded delivery and such person signed on such and such a date. So where's my application? They put the phone down on me. I found that quite unusual. I then phoned them back a couple of days later and the same thing happened again. They put the phone down on me. This is High Court in London. I then waited again and I filed another application. I checked when it got signed for. I then left it a while and I phoned in again and I said, hi, I filed an application, what's happened to it please? Well, we haven't received it, etc, etc. I said, well, such and such person has signed for it on such and such a date. No, they haven't. I said, yes, I have. I've got it in black and white. Where is it? The phone went dead. I phoned him again. Explain went on. The phone went dead. So I'm wondering why my paperwork got lost twice at High Court. I think had that application been heard by a High Court judge, that the whole system may have been blown apart. Not literally, but it would have opened a few more doors. And they didn't want to hear it because of what I had. They knew Norfolk County Council were wrong. It's as simple as. Anyway, I moved. I moved back home as such, and I spoke to my MP at the time and I said what went on, and he couldn't quite believe what went on. Thankfully, he then wrote to the Minister of Education, who then wrote back to me and said, look, this is what you're entitled to. You are legally entitled to this. I knew I was, and I was right. So then he contacted, I think it was the minister. He then contacted Norfolk County Council regarding this. They were then very, very helpful. What I will say, come back to Norfolk County Council, in the first instance when I was trying to find out about your schooling, my complaint started at the very bottom and it went all the way up to the top. All the way up to the top. I was very various people in Norfolk County Council, and not one of them knew the law. That's my opinion. I've got loads of stories to say about Norfolk County Council and what goes on there, but that's irrelevant, and maybe you might want to know in time. So yeah, so I got a letter from the Department of Education. I contacted Norfolk County Council, and they were great. They were most helpful. So then I contacted your school, and spoke to Mrs. Gutteridge. I have to say, Mrs. Gutteridge has been really, really good. Really, really good. She's been most helpful. I've been able to phone up the school a few times and ask about your education in general. I've spoken to Miss Bingle, Mrs. Sawinski. I can't remember the name of the other ones at the end of the term regarding your school report, and said I'm really pleased about it, or about them, as I've said in your letters to you. I just hope that when you go to senior school that we've got contact, and I don't have to go through all this again, chasing you down and finding out what school, because I generally do have an interest in your education, Tommy, and if I can help in any way with your education, I will. That's a caring, loving parent. Since indirect contact has been re-established, four times a year, which I think is absolutely disgusting. I do wonder if you've got all my letters. I do wonder if you've got all my checks that I've sent you. More specifically, I wonder if you've actually got the maths books that I sent you. I spoke to one of your teachers and they said you're struggling at maths, and you've recognised that as well by certain comments you've put on your various reports. So I thought, well, I'll send you some maths books. Now, as I said, I don't know if you've actually seen them yourself, whether your mum's given them to you or not. I like to think that you have had them, but I'm a bit confused over a couple of things. Now, it's not your fault at all. I'm not blaming you. Of the stuff that I've sent you, I am wondering if you have actually got these. Because from what I'm told from the 3 teachers that I've spoken to about you, you are very polite and you always say please and thank you. Now, to date, I have had, I think, 2 letters from you. One was to thank me for one of your birthdays, to thank me and Grandad, and also one for Christmas. Now, I could be coming to different conclusions here, but when I was a child, when I used to get stuff for Christmas, regardless, from an uncle, an auntie, whatever, from a neighbour, I would always make a point of thanking that person, either in person or just by a simple letter or even a card. Thank you very much for my Christmas gift. Now, so I received 2 of them. I didn't receive anything about your books or some of your birthdays or Christmases, and I am wondering if you haven't been encouraged to do so, or if you have said that you want to write to me and thank me, that you've actually been stopped. Now, I'd like to think that's not the case, but who knows. What I also don't quite understand, I said it's not against you, Tommy, at all, is why the checks that I've sent you, the last couple or 3, have taken 2 months, 6 weeks to 8 weeks to be cashed into the bank. Now, maybe this is me looking at things differently, but certainly from my childhood, if we was to get a cheque, that would be in the bank within 2 weeks, regardless if it was £2, £5 or £20. £20 in them days was a lot of money when I was a child. So I do question that. And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, because I'm hoping, or should I say, I'm hoping that you don't see this video, because we will then have contact with each other. But then if we have contact and you ask questions, I will probably show you this video. So you might be wondering also about my mum. Now, I don't have a relationship with my mum. I haven't really had a relationship with her since the age of 11. My parents divorced when I was 11, and I chose to live with my father. My mum messed me about a bit, and she didn't turn up for contact a few times, so I said enough was enough. And I think it was from about the age of 14 that I stopped seeing her. It was then I was about 27, so some 13, 14 years later, that I was in a shop in my hometown of Bracknell, and I saw my mum. I didn't say anything. I walked away. I kind of like walked away quite quickly, and I went home, and I said to my dad, "Look, I've just seen Mum." He said, "Well," I told him, "Excuse me." He said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "What I need to do is I need to phone my Auntie Brenda. That's my mum's sister." So I phoned Auntie Brenda, who I'd not spoken to for many, many years, and she told me that my mum was now living in a place called Winnersh, which is near Reading. To my knowledge, my mum was living up in Lincolnshire, but she'd moved back down south. So as it happened, my Auntie Brenda knew her husband's, well, my mum's new husband's mother, and she passed on my details, and I eventually had a phone call with my mum, and we arranged to meet. So we had a relationship for, I don't know, probably 5, 6 years. She then moved to a place called Kingston, carried on a relationship with her. And then in, I think, 2001, she moved to Spain. It's when she moved to Spain that I lost contact with her again. Something happened and she didn't like it, and I thought, oh, I'm not going to bother anymore. So yeah, she was in Spain for a while, and then when we found out that your mum was pregnant, I contacted my mum. I think I must have sent her a letter somehow, something or other, and we developed a relationship that way. She then told me that she also had another home in Lincolnshire, and that it would be lovely to see me. So when you was born, your mum and I took you to see my mum in Lincolnshire. I can't remember how long we stayed there for, and that was the only time that you would have seen my mum and my mum had seen you. And you know, when I saw my mum pushing the buggy with you in it, I was made up, mate. It was great, really, really good. So that was the last time you saw your nan on my side. I then carried on a relationship with my mum. So she had 2 homes. She'd spend probably 6 months in Lincolnshire and also 6 months in Spain. And I would go to Spain a few times for a holiday. It was cheap, you know. So we developed a relationship, and she understood that I would always be closer to my father than I would her. That's the way it was. Then when she sold up in Spain and moved back to Lincolnshire, relationship was still quite good. Something happened again, and I decided that I wasn't going to see my mum again. That was approximately 5 years ago. I won't say what she said, because it wasn't very nice. And I had no choice. No choice at all. So that's a little bit about my mum. I think I might have sent you a picture of my mum in the photo album, which I think you've got the photo album, I'm hoping you have. So that's about that. I said I'd love to be able to tell you a lot more. But I can't. I can't say much more over the internet or by video. Maybe in person I would. But what I will say is, I said I loved your mum when I was with her. But I'm not sure if you are aware, but Joshua never saw his dad for 7 years. 7 years. I can't remember how old Josh was at the time. Josh is alright. I've got no problems with Josh. That's all. The funny thing is, Josh's dad lived in the same town as I did, and I didn't know him. Although I knew his cousins. I didn't know they were his cousins until he told me. I think that's about it, mate. Just trying to think what else I can say without breaching any court orders. If you ever want to know the names of the people involved in the court cases, those people that at first promoted contact and then did not, then please ask. And I will be only too happy to give you those people's names. I would like to think that there will be a time where we have a relationship and develop a loving bond between us. And I hope that you will realise that there are always two stories to a story, two sides to a story. I expect at the moment you've only heard one side, and that'll be your mum's side. What your mum has said, I don't know. I really don't know. But if you want to hear my side, then you only have to ask. So if you want to know anything, just ask, mate. Just ask. There will be a time where you will be able to write to me when you want, so to speak. You can write to me whenever you want. It's as simple as that. So if you're in your bedroom and want to write me a letter and post it in the box, that's down to you. But I don't think your mum would approve, in all fairness. So maybe when you're 12, 13, you could write a letter and post it yourself without your mum knowing. But I would like to think that your mum does promote your contact with me and wouldn't stop you writing to me when you want to write. If I put my phone number in your letters, I doubt very much you'll get them, the letters that is. So, Grandad's in the other room, watching TV. As always, he sends his love. I know I've been going on for a bit now, it's 54 minutes. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this video short now and send you my love, and I sincerely hope to see you real soon in person, Tommy. Well, mate, take care. Love you lots.